Well, thank you so much for staying with us on our continued coverage of the Anambra State governorship elections. Anambra Decides 2025, we call it. Well, you've been getting some information from us, from our correspondents in Anambra State. Jeffrey has spoken to a number of people and taken us through the process at a location, the second largest polling location in Anambra State, where Jeffrey is with some observers and, that we have spoken with as well. And of course, you've also seen results, beg your pardon, reports from our correspondent Charles Opurum, who's hobnobbing different areas of Anambra State. Right this moment, we have with us to give us some further perspective on the elections in Anambra State, and quite a number of times this morning we've talked about voter awareness, and Mr. Wale Ogwande is here with us. He's a legal practitioner and president Voter Awareness Program. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
Good
morning, everyone.
Yes, is it a concern for you, the level of apathy in over the years? It would seem we tend to have a culture of voter turnout on the decrease as opposed to being on the increase. What, in your opinion, is responsible for that? And do you think we can change that tide this time?
Deliverables.
Deliverables of INEC?
No, deliverables of government officials, the politicians, taking the people for a ride. And of course, insecurity during elections. And it's again bringing or rearing its head in Oka and Anambra particularly. Really, I want to go there. But again, the clip where your reporter was talking, we saw what happened. That at least the guy was harassed that he should leave that place. Insecurity. And people want to dare their lives for nothing because as we say in law, death brings an end to all. No more struggle after death. So what am I struggling for? To vote? And my life is put on the line. I've been in Anambra severally to observe elections.
Okay.
And
I don't know what part of Anambra State you've been to, but
Anambra, I mean, on election.
You'll find out. We'll find out more on that. But right now, Itokwe Kuteyi, our correspondent, is in Onitsha right now to give us updates. Go ahead, Tokwe.
Yeah, good morning. Okay, right now I'm in Onitsha, the commercial nerve center of Anambra State, and I'm on the Ed Bridge. To my left, you can see the bridge is closed, and you know the bridge here is the gateway to Anambra State from Delta State and from other southern parts of the country. So you can see the bridge is closed. There is no vehicular activity here till 6 p.m. And also on my right hand side, there's a barricade by security agencies not allowing vehicles to come through to the other side of the road. We have security agencies stationed around this area, you know, and people who have one or two things to do in Delta State, they are walking. You can see most of them carrying their loads on their head, and they're walking down to Delta State and complain that most of them didn't even know that there's going to be election here in Anambra State today. But you can see it's this is the position of things right now at Onitsha, the Ed Bridge in Anambra State.
Topper, we can at least get a sense of assurance that where you are is calm, unlike where we reported from earlier. But I see no security operative unless they're positioned in corners, of this particular location where you are. Give us a sense of what you have observed around Onitsha, and perhaps you also want to speak to polling units that you may have observed in this particular location. How early did INEC ad hoc staff arrive, and if polling has started?
Okay, first let me tell you that Onitsha, each is under the Onitsha North local government area, has about 92,000 registered voters, And so it's a place to watch out for in this election. And we came around from Oka, the Anambra State capital, this morning, and it took us about 30 minutes to 35 minutes from the state capital down here to Oka. And on our way, all we see INEC officials on duty. We've also seen security operatives and various checkpoints before we got here. But some small grocery stores are open. People are just sitting and just trying to while away their time as well come while they wait for INEC officials to get to the polling units. But as at 8:30, in some of the polling units here in Onitsha, we could see that INEC officials are already on ground and people are there to vote. But what we've noticed is that we've not really seen a large turnout yet. Maybe they're still waiting. They might still come later to vote. But after when I got to one of the polling units around there, we didn't see large turnout of voters. But for security agencies here around where I am now, you know, they are here just for this. They're just trying to prevent people from vehicular activities, you know, from moving in from Delta State and from leaving Anambra State. But so far so good. It's been calm. There's not been any record of any breakdown of law and order in this part of the state.
All right, Tokwe, thank you so much. We know you give us more because I know that you will not station yourself somewhere. You also go to a number of other places where things are happening. Thank you again, and we please, as we always say, do stay safe. Now,
thank you.
Also joining us in this conversation is Cynthia Mbamaluba. We'll come to her in a moment. Now, you've also seen that one, and you weren't surprised, Mr. Ogwade, that the people seemed unfazed by the fact that such an important exercise was going on. How did we get here?
The foundation is the issue of the act and conduct of the political office holders.
But we can't blame just the political office holders. And here is why. Here is why. My apologies. I know, my apologies, but here is why. In the 1999 elections, even if we didn't get, let's say we got about 50% of voter turnout in 1999. And I think in 2003, it rose a tiny bit. And then from then on, it began to dwindle. We, as a people, also lost the responsibility. It was our job not just to vote people into office, not just to ensure that they got into office. It's also our job to ensure that they did the job for which they were employed. It would seem like we lost it at that point. And we're looking for somebody to blame.
This is not a blame game. These are facts on ground. This is reality. And if anybody will talk about it without trying to sound immodest, I am an authority on this issue, which you know. Since democracy started in 1999, the expectations were high. Don't forget June 12. People queued, they came out, struggled. People trekked. I trekked, you know Aboru, there's a village behind the Yanokbaja. I just relocated from Ogba that I registered. On election day, many people were trekking. I had to trek from Yanokbaja, from that Aboru village, down to Ogba to vote on election day. We were walking down, round and round. People were walking because of a great expectation that there was going to be a change and all. That came, and of course, everything, the hope was destroyed. Then came to 1999. People now said, yeah, let's give it a try. People came out, voted indeed, but the thing was built out. No change in people's life, no development. Rather than that, what you begin to see was progress in the lives of the political office holders to the detriment of those who are ordinary people. I crisscross Nigeria on a regular basis, and I don't need to go too far. The Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway is a very good example, and I'm sure you know what I'm saying. It's a death trap. Well, imagine I'm a lawyer equally. Sorry, let me land this. I live in the redemption camp. If I have to go to Ota, I have to go through Abeokuta, Ifo, Itori, to Ota. instead of coming through a beggar and linking was the Tabule Egba, and in 10 minutes I'm in Ota. Because of this. In fact, that portion too is very bad.
One, it's not to say that we haven't made any progress.
Okay.
As you said, you live at the redemption camp. The road is not what it was. We can all agree to that one. However, there is a responsibility. there is a responsibility on the part of the people. And you seem to be giving us a slap on the wrist. As a people, we are not calling out the elected officials. We wait for election times. Yeah. These people, Bukola and I, it's something we don't hear the politicians until there is election time. Now we have 16 governorship candidates on the ballot. I only knew of maybe 1 or 2 of them before this election. And here we are talking about elections. So it would seem like we as a people always leave them. Give them a job, give them, let them do the job. We give them space. We don't call them to action. We don't hold them accountable. And we complain that they're not doing the jobs for which they were employed.
Thank God for social media. People are called out. On a daily basis, you see the state of affairs in Nigeria on a daily basis. And these people in authority have media teams that tells them, this is what is happening. That is one. No doubt here, they all go through with the choppers now. So they don't go on the roads. When they are sick, they don't stay in our local hospitals or dispensary. They fly themselves outside Nigeria. When they are in an event, they get covered. They don't buy fuel. They are disconnected with the people. So the people say, okay, since that's your own, we leave you. Run the show you want. And don't forget this issue of insecurity. Even in a peaceful environment, as peaceful as Osun State, when it's election time, you see that the place is a war zone.
And the direction that the conversation is taking on is quite instructive. Because, I heard, again, Samson Itodo earlier on saying that if you do not come out to vote, then you have shirked your responsibility, to challenge elected authority when things are not going the way that you would rather have it go. But when you look at the constitutional requirement that is even provided for which you should challenge elected authority, what confidence do you have in that provision for it to be activated for the people to challenge elected authority when things don't go the way they ought to go? And we could, think about recall, the recall element in the Constitution. Some would say that has been politicized. I'd like you to speak to this because it is instructive. It is on this level, on the strength of this, that the people can stand and say, okay, this is effective, and as a result, I have a stake, then I should go out and vote. I'd like you to speak to that.
Yes, for starters, democracy is about numbers. And when the number is not there, to really effect that change, what do you do? The Bible tells me in Psalm 11:3, when the foundation is faulty, what can the voter do? So I'll put it that way.
Well, there are 2.7 million registered.
I'm going somewhere.
That's a good number.
The 2.7 million voters are faced with state of insecurity, seriously, in Anambra as we are talking. I guess 2 months ago, when did we have a conference in Enugu? I was there. I was telling my friends, let's go somewhere. Let's go to see some people in Nkala or something, local government. I want a local government near Enugu to get something done. I said, my brother, make me not go there. Because of the activities of UGM, as they normally call them there. And these are unknown gunmen. And we have heard the story. So, now coming back to Anambra with our question, the state of insecurity is there. But let's even come out. Let's look at the Constitution provision in Section 89.
Can we say that there is insecurity in Anambra State?
Sorry?
Can we say that there is insecurity in Anambra State?
It's all right. I said the clip, we had it now some few seconds ago. What happened? The man came out and said, hey, you're going to leave this place.
That was not insecurity. That was a misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding?
Yes.
It's all right then.
Okay.
There's no need in the court
also instructive is, no, I mean, it's a fact. Also instructive is that, the peace pact that's usually signed was signed on a Monday.
Yes.
which historically was a, what do they call it? Sit-at-home day.
Yes.
In Anambra State.
Yes.
It's a crucial southeastern Nigeria state.
Yes.
So if with that, and minimal, if I dare say, because I don't recall, or unless Bukola, I'm getting it wrong somewhere, and there hasn't been any such report. I know how passionate, Jeffrey is, my colleague in Anambra State right now, is about some of these governance issues. I haven't heard, from him anything that smells of, okay, maybe people may not come out because of insecurity. So what is the basis? We can't really say without empirical evidence that there is such astounding, outstanding insecurity in Anambra State that could speak to some of these issues you're raising.
Apart from Enugu, which is the capital of the southeast, apart from Enugu, the second most insecure state in the southeast is Anambra State on a regular basis. We hear this news. I have my people there. I'm supposed to join them. But for one reason or the other, I just said no. Well, maybe for one thing or the other, I said, let you guys handle the place. Why? Because of the state of insecurity. These reports I got. And again, it's too young in the day to begin to banter on that. When your correspondent begin to show up, maybe by 1 hour's time, before the poll closes, we will know maybe that is true or a fallacy. So what is on ground is that people are not ready to lose their lives, all because of election. Are you guaranteed of your safety? And that is the foundation. And that's where the politicians come in, to ensure that there is peace and to ensure that the environment is cleaned up of all these challenges.
Just to be clear, 55,000 security officials are in Anambra State. You think that that's not enough to guarantee any security for the voter?
The number of security agents can be overwhelmed by the number of those who are naysayers and no-do-gooders. Let me give you an example. One of my clients who has a project in the southeast, when he was going, we held a meeting. How do we go? How did they carry out the project? He was given a federal government project. He got there. To God be the glory, wisdom prevailed after discussions and so on that they should not be involved, they should not involve security people so as to secure themselves. Can you beat that? And one of the security men said they use guerrilla tactics, and I don't want to go too far. Everybody knows guerrilla tactics in dealing with perceived opponents. So you say some 50,000 or 56,000 people are there. As I'm talking to you, they too have intelligence. From the snippet we see in the social media.
All right. Although Agwata is mentioned in some election assessment reports about, areas that are flashpoints, but whether or not that particular incident is, insecurity related, we can't tell at this point in time. But it also speaks a lot to the attitude of the people towards election. It's election day, and security operatives should be on ground, to check any form of challenge to what a reporter should have been doing at that particular point in time. But we'll get details subsequently. We told you that Cynthia Mbamalu of Yaga Africa will join us shortly, but we've also had Mr. Kayode Adeluola, who has been with us, by the way, from the beginning of this particular segment. Senior Advocate, thank you for holding on. You were talking earlier on about some critical legal aspect of this election, which would be Form EC8A. And, I promised to follow up on that, about the critical functionality of BVAS to Form EC8A. Election observers and indeed stakeholders in the past had questioned the past leadership of INEC for the contradictions between, Forms EC8A and what has been uploaded to IREV. What are your expectations about what we should be seeing at this point in time, particularly as it relates to the conversation around the burden of proof to now be placed on INEC?
Well, we're not yet at that point where the burden of proof is placed on INEC. But as we are right now, as I said, first of all, the beavers must work. And everyone who presents himself for accreditation must be accredited, especially if they have with them their PVCs. But going further, we then have the collation. We have the counting first, we have the collation, and that is where the polling agents also, who are provided for in section 41 and 43 of the Electoral Act, should become very, very relevant. They should stand there whilst the votes are being counted. They should record the votes in their own book and ensure that what is recorded in the forms are exactly what has been counted. After that, these results sheets are taken to the local government where the collation continues, and then the final results are uploaded onto the IREV. Now, a lot of people are waiting to see what IREV will be, what role the IREV will be playing this time. We've had situations where we've been told, well, IREV is just part of the regulations, not part of the Electoral Act. Look, if it is part of the regulations and INEC has assured us that it will work, then we have no excuse whatsoever. We must ensure that what we have promised to people is not taken away from them, and so that we do not disappoint the voters. Otherwise, the voter apathy that we're talking about will become the norm rather than the exception. So we should have the beavers, we should have the voting, we should have the counting, we should have the collation, we should have the recording, we should have the IREV, and ensure that at the end of the day, when the results are released and announced, we are satisfied. That's how far we go right now.
All right, and we'll place our eagle eyes on that process, to ensure accountability and ask questions where relevant. We must thank you very much, Mr. Kayode Adeluola, for your time on this particular segment. Mr. Kayode Adeluola is a senior advocate of Nigeria who has provided professional insight into the legal implications for this exercise, the Anambra Governorship Election 2025. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
And so from here, Jeffrey Ozongo, our correspondent, is standing by at Community Secondary School, Amobia, with Cynthia Mbamalu, I believe, to give us more perspectives on the conduct of this exercise. Over to you now, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Bukola. This is actually a community primary school in Amobia in Oka South local government area. A quick update, looking at the 3 polling units we have here, polling unit 001, 002, and 003, 0010, that's 010. We have registered to vote here 1,411 for 001, 002 has 1,454, and then PU 010, which is the one you have been seeing from the live, is about 457 registered voters, which is the least. But I did a tour walking around asking the officials how many people as at 9:15 had voted. They said it's less than 10, less than 100, I should say, which means that as at now, based on the data they gave to me, is way less than 10% of registered voters, especially in 001 and 002. But Cynthia Mbamalu, Program Director at Yaga Africa, and Larry Arugundede, Executive Director of International Press Center, they joined me. Gentlemen and ladies, now we've witnessed this for another 25 minutes.
Yes.
So it's basically to review what you've seen so far from the exercise. Cynthia, let me start with you.
Well, I think first is to commend INEC, at least for this community and primary school. We had early arrival of personnel and materials. And, for us, the test for a good process is the ability to deploy materials and personnel on time. And from 8:30, 8:40, the process commenced. That's accreditation and voting across these 3 polling units. And I think so far, the materials are present. The beavers, only in 002 that one of the beavers had a little issue, but immediately they referred, or rather they moved to the other beavers to accredit and authenticate voters. I think it had issues with verifying the PVCs of some of the voters. But so far, it seems to be a smooth process. But when you talked about the numbers, ordinarily we should have about a total of 3,317 or so voting in this community primary school. But as at this morning, on a count, you don't have up to 10 people on the queue now across the 3 polling units. And it just shows that there's that whole conversation around lower turnout in Anambra State. We're beginning to see that in some states, in the morning, this is where you see queue all the way down, and you're trying to manage the crowd, especially for this primary school that has a large number of registered voters, and it's quite significant in the Oka South data registration of voters. But as it is now, it looks like we just have numbers trickling in. I hope by noon we would have a lot more voters turning out, but we're barely close to 5% actually in this community primary school as at this morning.
And so we're heading to 2:30, which is the time the
process should end.
And as you said, the momentum should have built from the very beginning. Who want to come and do this and get out before the sun comes out. Larry, what do you make of this? The exact number, I think, is 3,322 total number of voters across the 3 polling units here. Over 1,004, 1,003 here, and about less than 500 here. But so the numbers. In an ideal situation, we would like to see at least about 200 people already here across the 3 polling units. So far, it's not impressive. But we're watching, we're looking at what would happen between now and 2:30. One other aspect of the voting here, which is of interest to us, is the question of security. I think I must say that we have a good security presence. Even before the INEC officials arrived, about 6 policemen and women were already on the ground. And we're looking out for any element of incident. So far, there has been no incident recorded in this particular, community primary school where we have, 3, polling units. One other thing I've observed is assistance for the elderly. In polling unit 1, there was an elderly man that came. He couldn't even stand. He had to sit. And they took the beavers to him to capture him and enable him to vote. Those are the kind of things we're looking at. But the real test is the question of turnout. Looking at what happened in 2021 when turnout was about, was it 10 something? 10 point something %, which was really not impressive. But it's still early, and we are here. We have to get information on what is going on in other places for us to have an overall picture of turnout. Why this is important? Because this is the city center. It's supposed to be the safest, most accessible, easy to do whatever you want to do, maybe better than other hinterland areas. That's why this concern is developing. As you said, it's still early in the day. But Cynthia, talk to us about the conduct of INEC officials themselves in terms of compliance with the process.
I would say that from what we've observed so far, they were quite professional and coordinated. At least in the setup, the way they addressed the voters, although for some of them, it seemed like they were not fully attentive during the training. But for the majority of them, at least they gave out the key message on what voters should know about the voting, showing that the BVAS is at 0, the ballot boxes are empty, and how they should queue. I think so far it's been good. When the BVAS issue had in the 002, when I was observing, I was impressed with how the lady, she tried another person's PVC, and then she just told them, okay, can you stand here? I'm not able to verify you now. And then later she asked her colleague, can we do that? The fact that she was able to manage it, because these are the kind of things, some people say, oh, go back, go, your problem is your PVC, and not realizing it could be the BVAS. But she wanted to test other PVCs to be sure it wasn't a PVC issue. And I think that for me is impressive. So far they are coordinated and they are getting the work done, and they are accrediting the voters, and voters are getting to vote. You also have them even doing voter education in the line. One of the women, one of the assistant POs, she was telling the voters, oh, don't vote your fold your ballot paper this way. You have to fold it inwardly vertical, and so that is also useful. But when you talked about this is also where student communities should be voting. So I was expecting a lot of young people coming out to vote because of the youth population within Awka South. And we know Awka South is one of the battleground local government because it has one of the, I think probably the second highest, thousand, yes, after Idemili North, and then before we go to Onitsha North and South, and then like Agwata. But so the expectation was that I would see a lot more younger people here because there are student communities around here, and there are what you call off-campus accommodations for students also around there. So I thought we would have younger people here, but it's unfortunate that we've had more elderly people or middle-aged showing up to vote. And so we're hoping that if students are watching, young people are watching, just come out, just come out. We'll be begging, just come out and vote. Honestly, the Beavers, as it is just come out and vote if you're a young person watching.
At least at this center is safe, we can say that.
Yes.
There's enough security presence.
Yes,
the police, NSCDC,
exactly.
You don't have nothing to worry about. So we're not wearing any bulletproof vests.
And to add to that, the policemen have also been quite professional.
Yeah.
Because we also look at their attitude towards observers and journalists, the gentlemen of the press. I observed you go to Polling Unit 1 to talk to the officials, showing Beavers and how it's going to work. And they didn't really say, oh, don't come near, don't take pictures. We even took their own photographs. This is a kind of professional conduct that we expect on all the critical stakeholders when it comes to election. The INEC, the security agencies, and all others. I think we should also mention that we have a very large contingent of observer groups observing this election. Yes, we have had a number of others that are trooped in here, which again shows that all eyes, so to say, are on Anambra right now.
Big one. There's something that Cynthia spoke to it in passing. I want you to build on it. We're already worried about turnout of voters. Less than 100 per polling unit when we have over 1,000 as at 9:15. Maybe early days. Let's assume it's early time. But experience has shown that this is supposed to be the biggest momentum. Yeah. And as the sun begins to come, we begin to see a decline in the people coming in. Talk to us about what you saw in terms of their voting process, because if we're already dealing with low voter turnout, another crisis could be how they vote.
How they vote, yeah.
Thumb printing. How they fold the paper.
So from what I've observed, I think among those who have voted, the majority seem to understand what they're supposed to do. I didn't see them, because one of the things we look out for is about vote buying. And the way it happens is when you cast your vote, and then you show somebody standing at a distance what you have done to confirm that, yes, I've done the right thing, then you get, whatever. So far, that has not really happened here. The secrecy of the ballots is maintained where it's put. People go there, and it's only when they want to insert the ballot paper that they come out in the open. I guess there is some level of education around here. Maybe because it's a city center, maybe it's because it's a school environment, that people understand what they're doing. And for those, like Cynthia said, who perhaps didn't know what to do, we saw the officials trying to let them know that this is what you have to do, and this is how you have to fold it. I saw somebody who was really getting his votes jealously, and exactly as if it was something else, put it there, and that was it.
Fantastic. So, Cynthia, you mentioned it, so I'll come back to you on it. Where we've seen elderly people, middle-aged people showing up way more than the younger people. I remember when INEC started the CVR drive. Yeah. One of the things we celebrated was the young people coming on board, register, and all of that. Why is it not? I know that I saw a young boy. I had to look at him. I walked to him and said, "How old are you?" He said, "I'm 18." I said, "Okay." Okay. The guy, he looks younger, but maybe it's his looks. So talk to us about that demographic which we are trying to get to make a decision for their future. Today, a decision will be made that will affect 4 years of their lives.
Yes, of governance in the States.
Yes, and interestingly, one of our partner elected, they had done a survey on citizens' needs for Anambra, and 3 issues that came out: security, employment, and healthcare. And if you think about employment, a lot of young people, especially younger women, employment is a key thing for them. So you would expect that in these elections, young people will turn out to make their voices heard through the ballots. But it's unfortunate, like you mentioned, I was just going and looking at people's faces, and I was asking myself, where are the first-time voters? Those who registered first time, why are they not turning out to vote? I think it's a bigger question on, one, the value we place on our vote. I think secondly, the issues around trust. And this is where a lot of civic education needs to go into. How we promote the sanctity of the process, how we promote that the system is working, is going to go a long way to inspire confidence. For a lot of young people, the narrative out there is your vote don't count. Politicians tell you, we already know who the winners would be. We are in control of the system. And so for a lot of them, they're also worried, like, I don't think my vote will count. Why should I come out to vote? We interacted with some young people during the recruitment of observers in the communities across the 21 LGAs. Some of them didn't even want to observe because we're trying to get some of them to observe elections. And they said, no, why are you observing? All your observation reports, what has changed? I don't want to observe. It's a waste of my time. I'd rather just rest. So it won't get them to observe elections. Ordinarily, in some states, young people are approaching you and saying, I want to observe. But here, we had more elderly people who were willing to observe elections than younger people. So it's beyond just voting. It's that political consciousness on the importance of participating in the electoral process. And I think there's a lot of work to be done in Anambra State in particular. If it comes to civic education, we need to, we need a whole overhaul on the voter education system in the state and refocus our message into the younger population.
Yes, and Cynthia and Larry will come to you in just a moment. This is the update as far as this center is concerned, the community primary school in Amobia in Oka South local government area, where we have polling units 001, 002, and 010, that's 010, in Ward 1 right here. And this local government is the second largest in terms of the voting block, 214,000. But let's cross over to my colleague Charles Oporo, who is in the Nnewi Ihiala axis. Charles, what exactly is happening? What can you see? What are you hearing?
Hi, Jeff. Yes, I am in Central School, Oto. This is Nnewi South local government area of Anambra State. So this is just a follow-up from the incident that occurred at Nkwo Ibuku in Agwata, where some market masters and all that, when they swarmed me and asked us to shut down the cameras because they were a bit suspicious. But then when we had a conversation with them, we were able to allay their fears and tell them that we were journalists and we just came to ask questions why the market was still open. And the market master there said they are going to fine anybody whose shop is open 10,000 naira, and they basically chased all the women away. So just to clarify what transpired over there at Nkwo Ibuku. So, but here at Central School, Oto, all the polling units behind me, in total there are about 5 polling. There are 5, 6, 7, 8 polling units behind me, right here in the Central School, Oto. Okay, and from my interaction with some of the residents and the natives here, they say the electoral materials arrived on time and there's been no incident. Accreditation and voting, they are going on side by side, and so far so good. Barring some arguments between party agents. Now, when we arrived there, we had some shouting. It was basically a shouting match, disagreements between some party agents. But then, aside that, everything has been going on smoothly. Jeff.
Thank you, Charles. As a matter of fact, we'll touch base with you as soon as you touch as many places within the axis you're covering. So we'll get a panoramic view of what exactly is playing out as far as the election in Anambra State is concerned. It's the Anambra State governorship election taking place today across the 21 local government, over 300 wards, and over 5,000 polling units spread across the entire state, where a critical decision is being made today as to who leads the state in the next 4 years. My guests, we're used to panelists, Cynthia Mbamalo of Yaga Africa and Larry Arobodede of International Press Center. Let me come to you, Larry. I know your people are around in terms of monitoring, sure. So it's important we get a feel outside here what they are reporting to you.
Yeah, in fact, I was just chatting with Cynthia about some disturbing reports from Onitsha, some of the officials had to move from the INEC office there because they are not, they don't have racks. And that's at 8:30 when I spoke, with one official, and they said that the officials were just about to leave. They had not even,
That's
left.
INEC officials.
INEC officials. I mean, the polling officials, the officials who will go to the various, polling units in some parts of Onitsha, which was quite worrisome because here, the first set of officials for the first 2 polling units, they came around 7:07. That was when they first arrived, and even the third one, 010, that came a bit late. They were here by 10 minutes past 8, and by 8:30, the 3 were ready. They had pasted the register of voters in these polling units. They had done everything, and then the process. So that kind of thing. That's why we're saying that we really need to pick reports everywhere. And it's not good enough that you had a situation where, as at 8:30, when accreditation and voting should start, they were just about, moving. These kind of things create apprehension, and we're hoping that INEC officials will be listening to us as we're doing this program live, and it will be good for them to quickly check on the latest development in that place. We believe they would have arrived at the various polling units, but nothing should be taken for granted in this kind of situation.
Cynthia, what are you hearing from the field report?
Yes, so that's what I was trying to, we're discussing this. Interestingly, yesterday, we also had teams deployed to observe the deployment to racks. And Onitsha, as at 12 noon yesterday, had not even started moving. And so we were actually saying we need to watch out for that particular, the particular LGA. And so it's not surprising to see that. We're also seeing that we may have been observing slower start in some of the other local governments, unlike Oka. And it's expected, Oka South is urban and is close to the INEC office, and I guess that's why we may have earlier regulation opening here. So like places like them, Orumba North and South, where we have teams deployed. In some places, the Onitsha point that he had mentioned, the observers were saying as at 7:30, we didn't have materials in some of the polling units like we had here. And so we're seeing that these early starts may not have been widespread. It could have been in some locations. But I'm sure that by 10 o'clock, we would have a better sense, because now we're just following up with the observers in the field to be sure that process commenced at least by 9 o'clock across polling units. But there's been some slow start in some of the other local governments, unlike Oka South.
Me and Larry were looking up. So,
yes.
So I don't know whether our camera can pick or it has gone too far.
Yes.
Where we can see helicopter, security helicopter, police helicopter flying around to make sure that they have a very wide view of happening. So this is just reassuring to the people that
it's reassuring.
The police are doing their bits.
We wonder why can't they just maybe use drones, because helicopter can have a sometimes a scary effect. Some people say,
Before I throw it back to the studio, let's talk about from what you've seen so far. Let me start with you, Cynthia. What are your possible projections? You've done this over and over again. So this scenario is already giving you an idea of how this may end. What is that idea?
Well, the idea is obviously there's an anticipated turnout that will be low. From this, just observing here, which is an urban area, I think that one of the things we may see is lower turnout. I don't know if we'll get up to 20% turnout. I was hoping we would move above the mark of 20%. We've been on 10% consistently, but I don't know if we would move above 20%. The other for me is we most likely will have different stories across different locations based on how materials are deployed. And so while we're celebrating earlier commencement in some locations, there's a likelihood that we may not have these positive stories in some places. However, my projection is that it wouldn't be as worse as 2021, because 2021, by 10:30, barely 50% of polling units had commenced voting across the state. By 10, which is 2 hours after the official commencement time. And by 12 noon, about 28% of polling units had not even started the process. And so what we're expecting is that this time around, we may have more than 50% of polling units that commenced the process as at 10:30 a.m. But it wouldn't be highly widespread the way you were expecting, but that's one of the things. I think the third part for me is that this may be relatively peaceful. However, that we would need better security for collation process, because usually towards 2:30 and towards collation, there's a lot more tension, because that's where the numbers begin to count, begin to make sense. And so we're hoping that we'll have better deployment, during the close of polls, especially in battleground LGAs. In the Millie North, like we talked earlier, this LGA on the North and South in particular, it's important to have that in Agwata, and I know Agwata would also be an interesting story to see in these elections.
Absolutely. You know, we call it the calm before the storm.
Yes.
This is the calm.
This is the calm, yeah.
The storm is coming. We hope it can be managed properly because the stakes can be quite high.
Yes.
But I don't know whether the camera, before I come to you, Larry, and throw it back to the studio, I want to talk about your projection. That polling unit behind us is 002. It has the highest number of registered voters, 1,454. But you can see the scantiness of the persons here, which is supposed to be the momentum of voting, because the weather has been very kind to all of us. I was sweating so much that I had to pull off my jacket. Yeah, so if the weather is calm and this is early and this is happening, we're not sure. We want to be wrong by saying we spoke too early. But Larry, you have something to say.
Yeah, just to say that I also observed that some people really don't know where their names are. So some of them have to go from this place to this place before finally, you know, getting their names. But you know, apart from opening accreditation and voting, availability of materials and incidents, one other thing we're also looking out for is the inclusion of this process in terms of gender. I must say that around here, I tend to be seeing more, you know, women
because Anambra
coming out and
yeah, I saw more women.
Possibly, yes, outnumbering the men.
Elderly women.
Elderly women, you are right. And the other thing is about presence of party agents. Because in polling unit 1, I took time out I saw some people seated, and I went to there, I was asking, are you a party agent? And they were saying they were not party agents. And I'm like, where are the party agents? Only one person said, I'm an agent. I will have 16 political parties.
16, and just not to cut you, I went here, and coincidentally, when I went to make some inquiry, I did ask, I heard them saying, where are the party agents? I could barely see any party agent.
Because you see, that's one of the things we say about our political parties.
Yes.
They don't take the process as seriously as to understand that their agents have a critical role to play in letting us know whether this process is transparent. Because by the time voting is concluded and you have counting, they would have to countersign,
yes,
and then have a copy of the results. Each party contesting election should be able to compute its own result across all the polling units, the wards, the local governments, and then the states. Yes. Otherwise, they would then come around. Some of them will say, oh, the process was not this. But were you there? Did you witness it? For me, this is a major shortcoming, at least in this vicinity that we've seen, the absence of party agents to monitor the elections. Party agents are actually the chief monitors and chief observers of the election.
Yes. I know you've been itching to say something about this party agent thing. Talk to us.
I know we were having this conversation, and I went to the 3. And I was like, where are the party agents? And this is where the problem is, because, you know, when he talks about the party agents, in the Act, Electoral Act actually gives party agents the right to different things. First, make a demand for recount. The Act gives you that right as a party agent. You can make a demand for recount. You have a right to countersign. And then you have a right to question the process if it's not going in line with the Act. Party agents have that right in the law. But if they are not here, then how would they raise those questions? Observers don't even have that right in the law. It's not recognized to make questions and make demands. We're there to just observe and you know, document what we observe. And so that's a bigger question. Now, we're drawing parallels with Ghana, for instance. The reason why the then ruling party could concede before the Electoral Commission went public was because their party agents were already sending them the results. So they were already collating in their own data center.
Their own situation room.
In their situation room. And so they knew they were already losing. And so it was easier for them to concede before the official declaration of the result. But that's the power of the party agent, that you're there to observe the process and to speak to the issues.
What now happens? Because I'm going to find out from you the functionalities of the beavers across other areas, other local government that the report you're getting. Since we couldn't see, we hope that when we go back, we can see more party agents. 16 political parties are participating. Now, this means that when this election is called, who is now going to countersign? How does that imply in law?
It means that, well, if it's only one party agent that's there, the one there would countersign.
If it's only one agent, two agent, three, they will countersign.
That can be subject to manipulation.
Well, and then even the others would then have no basis to complain about the process if you didn't ensure that your own, because as we've seen around here, nobody is preventing anybody from performing their functions. Nobody is intimidating any party agent, nobody is issuing threats. So they are supposed to freely come out. She was talking about Ghana. It's the same thing about Liberia,
yes.
Where we observed their general elections, their presidential election. The party agents there were so serious-minded people, mostly young people, and very, very patient. They sat through the process, through the country, and they were asking questions. In some cases where there were issues with the figures and so on, they raised it. Everybody agreed, corrections were made. So they were a decisive factor in the smooth conduct, so to say, of the last general election in Liberia.
It's very worrying. The reason Cynthia and Larry were dwelling on this is because this is supposed to be where we do the litmus test.
Yes.
It is central. It is everything
has
you
a
dream
number
of in an election. They came early, the officials came early, security agencies came early, we were here early. So everybody is, so what exactly is wrong with the party agents for not coming out? We don't know. But talk to us, let me start with you, Larry. Beaver's functionality, because the rule has to be clear. We need to use Beavers to be able to check electoral fraud. What are you hearing on ground besides what we've seen here? Here seems to be going very well. Other places, do you have any report to the contrary?
Not yet. I've not picked any reports about Beavers in terms of the level of functionality or whether it actually, malfunctioned. But the assurance that we got before now from INEC was the fact that there will always be backup, and where there are issues, those issues will be promptly attended to. And we can only hope that that would happen all over the places, because this is one of the reasons why people doubt the credibility. The moment people hear that Beavers is not functioning, then they begin to make assumptions, and the assumptions lead to perception that the electoral process itself is not fair. So we just hope that what we've seen around here would probably replicate itself across the state, and I'm sure that maybe by the time we come back, we'll have more update information on the use of Beavers for this particular election.
All right, Cynthia, before we throw it back to the studios, because I won't I told Samson and the rest, we're working together. Talk to us about the report Yaga is getting as far as functionality of the Beavers is concerned.
So far, I see I'm actually on my WhatsApp trying to reach out. So far, we've not gotten any critical incident with respect to the Beavers, and I'm seeing reports, at least from different local governments. So far, Odono Kofia, OE, process still going. One report, Beavers is reportedly failed for some cards. At least 3 persons have issues while we were there. This is from OE, Nteje Boys polling units 010, Nteje Boys 5. But the officials are trying to address that. I'm sure it's almost similar with what I saw earlier when the Beavers, I'm not sure why, but having issues to verify some of the PVCs, and perhaps...
Are there alternatives to that?
Yeah, so the alternative is to use the backup Beavers. Like what we had in 002 behind us, they have two Beavers.
I thought they had two
so
Beavers.
when one was delayed, they just focused on the other one. And so I'm hoping that that's what would happen in this Nteje Boys Primary School in Oyi local government area. But that is the only place. The other one from Dunokofia said Beavers working so far, going well, security present, things are moving well so far. So we're seeing reasonable, positive stories that we have, and we're projecting that at least as at 7:30, over 40% of polling units had officials present. But this is going to be updated. This is from what we saw earlier. Our data is showing us about 48% actually. But I'm sure by the time we get reports from everyone, we would have a better update, because this is just report from some of our sampled polling units.
All right, so that's as far as we're following up, and we hope that it's going to get better. It's a long day ahead. It's a long walk before the final moment. But Bukola and Ayo, that's how it is. So that's the feel we are getting here. We go around to make observation, ask questions, see it for ourselves, and get report from all of them as far as the issue of the elections right here is concerned. The reason why we dwelt on some of the voting process, turnout of voters, and all the things we were asking questions around and deliberating over is because if there is one place that is safe to come and vote and everything is ready for you to come and exercise your franchise, that will be right here at the community primary school in Amobia in Oka South local government area, where they have 3 polling units totaling about 3,322 registered voters. But the numbers have not been encouraging yet, but we want to assume it's early in the day. But we'll keep you updated. Ayo, Bukola.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. One of the things that we can only expect is that, hey, it's just what, 1 hour, 30 minutes into election? Almost 1 hour, 30 minutes into the elections.
1 hour, 30 minutes, yes,
already. And so this is the information we have. Definitely, we hope it will improve. And we are still appealing. As many people as you can reach out to in Anambra State, tell them to go out and vote. Because if you don't, as we have identified here, you, as we will say in local palace, you don't get them out. But we'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll take on more conversations. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Channels Television Studios. It's our continuing coverage of Anambra Decides 2025. The people of Anambra State are voting to decide who their next governor is. And we've been with this process since 7 a.m. We can report that indeed the exercise is fully underway in all 21 local government areas in the state. We have our correspondents in all parts of the state. And just before the break, it was quite an in-depth conversation that Jeffrey, our correspondent, had with Cynthia Mbamalu of Yaga Africa and Larry Arugundadi of the International Press Center. So much, to unpack with, those election observers. We still have our guest in the studio, legal practitioner and President Voters Awareness Initiative, Mr. Wale Ogwade. Mr. Ogwade, thank you for holding on so far.
Thank you.
So much to glean from, Cynthia and Larry. And, I could hear you, I could see you reacting to some of the things that Cynthia said. Quite revealing, by the way, the demography of those who are on the ground to vote. We've seen a lot more of elderly persons. She also, curiously spoke about how young people showed lack of interest in election observation, that in fact they had more elderly people showing interest in election observation in Anambra State. Talk to us about that in terms of voter education. Should we begin to introduce civic education in senior secondary level because of how important and critical the electoral process is to, our democracy?
Well, when I started earlier, my early sentiments were on the issues of the politicians. When I was a kid, I wouldn't know about this generation now. They taught us civic education in school, primary school at that level. And really, that's where I grew my horn in the issue of activism and interest in influencing governance and so on. Oh, it's lacking. Not have it now. So the youths are not interested in all these things, but they are interested in making money. Making money and making money. When you make the money, the environment in which you want to spend it is not conducive. You want to make money. They run out of the country in local palace, as they call it. You go there, it's not as if you are picking money on the street. You struggle. In fact, you work your ass off. So this incentive is there because of the foundation, which I mentioned earlier on. And since that foundation, the civic education is even not encouraged by the politicians. I've been in this business for close to 20 or more than 20 years now. Not a single political party has a political, civic voter education department in all the political parties. Not one of them.
You've confirmed that?
Am I not working in that sector?
Hold that thought. You follow up on that. Let's quickly head to Anambra, Onitsha, yet again, where our correspondent, Itope Kute, is standing by to bring us up to speed. Hello again, Tokwe. Earlier on, you told us that things are going on smoothly. Perhaps you want to provide a lot more update on the process, specifically to the functionality of the BVAS and accreditation in the areas that you have monitored.
Okay, right now I'm at Port Harcourt Road in Onitsha, where we have polling unit 010, and we have about 681 registered voters here. Well, I want to show you something. If my cameraman can just get those guys playing football behind me. Those are some of the visuals we have today on the election day. Some guys are just on the streets, you know. I think they are not interested in voting. They are playing football on just very close to the polling unit 010 here on Port Harcourt Road in Onitsha, the commercial nerve center of Anambra State. So I have someone here, he's a resident and he's here to vote, but the election officials just arrived not quite long, and they're still prepping their materials. So let's just get a feel of what he has to say about what's happening here. Yeah, your name, sir?
My name is Onyebuchi Ezenago. I reside at Port Harcourt Road, Onitsha South.
So we could see that people are sitting here, and we could see the electoral officials here. So what's happening? Can you tell us?
We have been here since 7 o'clock. We did not see the electoral officers. They are just coming now, and we are preparing to vote. So I hope, by God's grace, everything will go well. Yeah.
Okay, from what we have here, we have about 681 registered voters, but there's no large turnout here. Can you tell us why you have this?
Well, some people feel reluctant. They just stay in their house doing nothing. But if you are a good citizen, you're supposed to go and vote to get somebody who will rule you. Staying in your house doesn't show any good result. So you have to go out and vote, so that you can have a better person to rule the state. And that's what I have to say.
So what are your expectations for today, INEC and security agencies?
Everything is okay. I see policemen, military men are passing through. All of them are passing through. There is security. There is security.
So as soon as they're ready, you're going to vote?
Yes. Once I'm here since 7 o'clock. Once they are ready, I have to vote. I have some elders with me here. They are prepared to vote. So I don't see reason why these young boys should be playing ball. Some of them are above 20 years. They're supposed to come and vote, to give to vote the person they want, not to play ball. It's a very bad for me. It's not good.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. So you could see behind me, I think accreditation is about to start. Can you move closer so you could see? So people could see what's happening here. So the accreditation is about to start. You could see them, they're on the queue, and in a few minutes' time, they'll start the accreditation and the voting. So back to your question earlier, you were talking about the beaver machine. Okay, I was at the polling unit shortly after I left the Ed Bridge some minutes ago. I was at the polling unit, and election officials are already there, and the beaver machine is working, and everywhere is calm. But for here, we're just trying to stay here and see when they start voting, so we can bring you up to speed with what is happening around here.
So many other things that one would want to consider, and one just then wonders, the general ambience. There have been, or there were fears of insecurity. From all that you have seen so far, the spots that you have gotten to, any trace of any validation for any of such fears?
Okay, let me just say something. You know, over time, there has been this fear of insecurity in the Southeast. So I think that's one of the things that is making people have that fear that there might be insecurity or security challenges during this election. Well, and in recent times, the security situation in the Southeast is really going down and things are calm. So I think that's also part of the things that is leading to what's happening during this election, because from all the places I've visited, I've not heard about any breakdown of law and order or any criminal acts, just like what we're seeing here and some other places. And I've been in touch with some of my colleagues across these 3 senatorial districts. Personally, I've not heard anything about any breakdown of law and order. But I think the fear of the past is what is really happening to people, why they think there might be a security challenge during this election.
We're staying with the same issue. We've made the point earlier on at the beginning of the show that it was quite significant that the customary peace accord guiding all elections for Anambra, it was signed on a Monday. I'd like you to speak to that. What are you gleaning from residents in the areas that you've visited about this compliance with sit at home on Mondays, in line with this general fear, about the election?
Okay, let me also bring you back to the recent history. When all these security challenges started in the Southeast, Mondays are always on lockdown. But in recent times, some of the states, some of the cities in the Southeast, especially the state capitals, except the hinterlands, on Mondays they go out, they do their businesses, even though it's not optimal. You can't compare to the normal Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and other days of the week. So right now, the Monday sit at home is not really, there's not much compliance like before.
One more thing before we let you go, Itokwe. Tell us what you have observed about the presence or absence of party agents in the polling units in Onitsha where you are.
Okay, from what I have here, we have just few party agents, and we have over 16 political parties in this election. So, but for now, maybe they will still come. But from what I have here, we have like 3 to 4 party agents, of some political parties here. Maybe when we go to other places, we might see them more.
Interesting. 3 to 4 out of a 16-candidate election. I guess we wait and see more. Thank you so much, Itayo, for your reporting. And again, I say please stay safe.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's another angle to it. We've talked. Nobody, you're already laughing. We've spoken to that for a bit. The fact that the political agents, the party agents are not there, and the next thing we're gonna hear, we heard before, is go to court.
Unfortunately, that's just how we roll in this country. Governorship elections generally in Nigeria, we have pretenders and contenders. The pretenders, they know themselves. You want to contest an election, you don't have full soldiers. You are just a pretender. And somebody will say election is not about structure. Who says? You don't have a structure, how do you expect to win an election? The local talk is that if you are not there, your goat daughter, your goat child will be turned into a sheep. So you are not around. But who will watch out for you?
Some people say it's a popularity contest. It's not about structure. It's the people are the structures.
Popularity.
Yes.
On election day.
The people.
Just in fact, those who went, the pictures of those we are seeing, when the chips are down, they may vote against their conscience. When let me just say, the chips are down, and of course there is serious inducement. Larry was going there, he just decided to pepper it. When there is serious inducement, you want to vote, and you see that some people, once they vote, they are given inducement, he changes his mind. Because your own agent is not there to protect your interests.
Who's to say that even the agent himself is not induced?
Oh!
I'm just saying.
Don't worry, I know you.
That from your mouth.
I told you that before we leave, he will be on my side. So don't worry. That's just what happens on ground. And Happy Larry mentioned it. And that's just it. So, and we know that there are 4 front runners in this election in Anambra. ADC, APC.
But before we begin, it's election day. Before we begin to run foul of the law.
No, there's no issue here. We are not campaigning.
Adelola was saying earlier on that it just goes to show that their programs do not resonate with the people. If not, recruiting party agents should not be a problem. But what about the financial implication of recruitment of party agents for over 5,000 polling units?
That's what I said. If you don't have a deep pocket, you can run election in this country for now. And before we went on the break initially that we were talking, we are looking at the issue of logistics too, and how it resonates with elections. Are you serious about talking to the people? Then again, we mentioned the issue of election voter awareness department in various political parties. Ayo was about taking me up on that. Unfortunately, the two of you have been in the beat for at least, I've known you for close to some 2, 3, if not more than 10 years now, covering election. Which day has a political party, the big ones and even the minor ones, have called you that they are running a voter education program and that you should come and cover? Which day? I mean, if any, then again, I will say it with all sense of emphasis. If Channels is not invited to that program, then definitely it's not a program. And there is no program. And it has never existed. And they have never done it. And I challenge the political leaders, all of them. They care less about voter education. They are not interested because to them, it's the principle of the few, the merrier. The few voters that come around, better for us.
But why? The numbers would work in their favor because every candidate wants the highest number. And that's what our election laws say.
Every candidate is a pretender.
No, I just want you to help us understand the logic of the fewer the merrier. Because as a candidate, I would want to get the highest number of votes in line with what the electoral laws say.
The fewer voters that come, the merrier for the person who is a potential winner. I mean, look at it now. In a polling unit, there is 1,000 people registered or more, maybe 1,005, and 200 people voted. And those 200 people are my people. Why won't I win? It will be an error now if the others who are strangers and who stray come to the polling unit to vote. 300 of them stray in. I will be defeated. So they won't encourage strangers. They will ensure that people don't come. They know themselves. There are structures in election. The structures are the vehicle, all these transport unions, the market women, not professionals. Look at the queue now. Do you see lawyers there? Do you see doctors there? Journalists there who come out of their way to come and vote? How about? These are things on ground. The politicians know what they are doing.
So what does
and until we wake up ourselves, it can't go. It will continue. It will continue. We've been saying this You know what you've been involved in this now.
So what does that say about us as a people? You've mentioned a very, very critical, I think about some 15, 20 years ago, someone came up with a concept that political parties or electioneering should be based on professional on your professionals
in politics,
like accountants, political party or something like that, brings professionals into the fray. It would seem like that's generally absent, and I don't know who used that term today, saying that the least of us are governing the most of us, that should be something. That should be something scary. That should be something concerning. So, how do we reverse that? Because I had assumed that with that Supreme Court ruling, that monies now go directly to the local government administrations, that would have people who are more responsible, interested in the local government elections in their areas. And they will not just be stooges of political parties.
You know, and I know, and many people are watching, know that politics in Nigeria is a dirty game. And I'll just hit one thing and you know what I mean. When Sanwo-Olu was coming out to contest against Ambody, one way or the other, they just bring something that said someone was a mad one amongst them, that he has been to Yaba before for psychiatric test and that he is not capable. That's politics for you, to show the dirtiness. You're a clean man, you try it. That you want to contest.
But that's
you
why
smell yourself.
that's why I've not tried. But there's another thing that's on the screen right now. We've seen some red uniforms, which is customary during elections.
These don't want to catch money.
There.
Those who are vote buyers,
and all of that. You know, perhaps it also speaks. First of all, how do you see this activity of this particular security agency affecting our electioneering?
Obviously, is to curb the vote buying thing.
But is it effective?
It's effective to some extent. To all, again, not that I just want to sound out. I mean, I am involved in election.
But in the last election, Mr. Ogwadi, the last off-cycle election, which was Ondo State, we had civil society saying on national television that all political parties were complicit in vote buying, and yet it didn't make any difference in the election. So what difference would this make? No,
they are just there to want to show that they are on. Not that it will, well, they may pick one or two people, you know, though in fact a whole show was made of an agent that a whole lot of funds was recovered from him. After that, any news? Nothing. Of course, they were arrested by this same EFCC. Were they prosecuted? If they were prosecuted, was it in the news? Do we know, to serve as a deterrent for future activities? Yes, they are here. Yeah, let them do their job. They are a statutory body. They do it. If they do it well, okay. Maybe it will give some traction to the electoral process. Okay. Nobody can say they can't come out. I like the way they were coming in with their swag. Will the swag result in something strong? That's just the issue. Will you have result? Or results to say, notice me, we did there, we too, we know they for back, or we too, we are on the ground. And of course, the camera picked them. The Algada sent them on an errand too. We'll say, yes, my boys are on ground. Is it be on ground alone or doing the work? You see, I've been involved in Nigerian activity. Most of the time, apart from you journalists, that particularly anchoring program, you to know what you go through to ensure that this thing comes up with your engineers, the noise you make to each other, background. Apart from that, sloppiness. People don't care about anything in this country. You die, that's all. You go on the street, you see dead bodies. You see accidents. Is it not the responsibility of some people? Are they not supposed to be working? If you're not able to get, if the kitchen is too hot for you, you get out.
Okay, let me provoke a little something here, Mr. Ogwadi. Most of the time, criticisms go to the federal government.
Yes.
Rightly so.
Go on.
However, that's not to say that the state governments don't have a responsibility as well.
Yes.
And to a large extent, the things that affect people don't happen in the federal government. They happen at the state level.
Or even the local.
Especially now that the state governments are getting a lot more money. Some say up to like 200 or even 300% more in some cases than they were getting before. Now, with that information, knowing that there is a lot of resources that belong to the people of Anambra being held in trust by their government, how more can we persuade the people that their lives, I don't know what that word, is at stake? The things that belong to the people, everything that is able to help the people become what they want to be, the kind of governance that they want, all of it is at stake with this election.
When I was a small boy, a very small boy, I still remember, we have the Ministry of Information that was moving with some Land Rover. They will mount some megaphone or what, speakers. I don't know, maybe you know what I'm talking about. Going to disseminate information to the people at the grassroots. In the West here, we have what we call redivision. Every house has its radio. that disseminate information, telling people what to do, how to go about it, and holding government accountable. Fortunately or unfortunately, along the line, the military era picked it up, and we're doing it. It was a military era. But ever since the birth of this the democratic dispensation, there is nothing like that. That is one. So people are not aware. All these ones, the election thing, before election, do people come to your studio that they want to advertise or they want to talk about politics or about their programs? Do they come to place adverts? That's what we call them pretenders. That is one. The second one, the level of involvement by our people is when election is coming that you see them becoming emergency philanthropists, buying corn and moving with the people on the street, showing empathy. The next one is the issue of resonating with the people and their problems. And since all those things are absent, then definitely the people who do the attempt OU is seeking their daily bread, losing faith in government, and caring less about what government does. Then those in government too see themselves as not being responsible to the people, because one, they have bought their way anyway.
Well, there's something Bukola said the other time.
Yes.
I'm sure Bukola may want to speak to it again.
Yes.
There's something she said the other time, that if you are not part of the process, you can't challenge the authorities for not performing.
Yes.
So if the government comes in and they have, on the average, 10% of voters come to vote in the governor, where is the authority to challenge the government for not doing whatever the government is supposed to do if they were not part of the process?
I like that question. That's one leg. But that does not mean that since it is now government, it will blind its eye to the majority of the people. Government is government, politics is politics. Politics ends after election. Once you are sworn in, you are the governor or you are the president and you are the father of all. All resources must be allocated evenly to all your constituents without being unfair.
Without voting, doesn't that also mean that the people don't have expectations?
That's what I'm saying. That despite the fact that you did not vote, it is incumbent on those who are now in government.
Doesn't that mean that the majority that did not vote does not have expectations?
No, they have expectation.
Are you sure?
They have expectation, and they're part of the citizens anyway. You can't cut them out because, as a politician, the next cycle, they now decide to wake up and now do what they ought to do. It's unfortunate that we have a set of youths now who are busy playing football instead of being involved in the election. And what we are going, and I like how you have brought the question, is that it will affect them in the next 4 years. Let's see how they will play the football for the next 4 years with empty stomach.
But then doesn't it also go to support the point made earlier by Cynthia that, you know, when they know that nothing is going to change anyway, if they even, you know, decide to challenge. And that goes to the question I was asking you about the constitutional provision for challenging. Does it, you know, support the view that because the people feel that the laws are dead, even if I wanted to challenge constituted authority, I would not be able to do so?
There are 2 ways or 3 ways in which you can challenge constitutionally and legally. The first one is the power of recall. And don't forget, there is something I hope I'll forget, the constituency issue, constituency office of our representative, both at the state and on the national level, is not effective. And because it's not effective, people, rather than using the constituency office or the constituency time to ask for things for the community, they are busy individualizing it and taking tokens from those who they are supposed to be serious with. So that affects issues. Then let me now come back to the issue of the Constitution. It makes provision for recall, and it makes provision for impeachment, or even election. That's why I said 3 points. The election is what is happening today. A governor that has not done well, you have the opportunity today to come out en masse, either to re-elect him by re-voting him in, or vote him in out through electing someone else. That's one. Second is through an impeachment, through their members and the various constituency. Each one going to their meeting their people who represent them that, look, make una do something about this man. We want him out. He's not doing the governor's work very well. Simple. The man knows that if he does not do your bidding, then definitely he too will face what's it called now, recall. But unfortunately, the recall process has not really worked in this country. And since the recall process has not really worked, and I don't see how it can be amended, because those that will amend it are members of the House of Assembly and the National Assembly. And since they are there, the principle of self-preservation is there. Nobody wants to get himself his neck cut.
What about the option of changing an elected authority in the next election cycle? Does that work?
It works.
Do people have the confidence that
no,
if we came out en masse, our votes would
yes.
count?
So that's it now. That's what I would have narrated earlier on. They know that people are not interested, or they will discourage people. One, the discouragement is not voicing or lauding the upcoming election. I mean, until maybe election observers started arriving in Oka some few days ago, that people say, oh, they're having election. And you have what some of your correspondents said. Some people are not aware that there is an election taking place at all. Even if they see poster, they care less, because their mind is not tuned towards it. This thing is about education and creating awareness. People like us are involved in this thing. This whole place is blank. I was asking myself, what's the atmosphere there? They said, Auga, there's nothing on ground, though. They are not even sure that the election will take place. I said, my brother, keep quiet.
Well,
it's sacrosanct that election will take place on the 8th.
Well, regarding that option, you know, in some states they would say that traditionally they don't elect a particular political party twice, and we've seen a departure from the norm where even in the election a party is returned, even though we can see that in the past 4 years prior to that time the party didn't particularly deliver on the dividends of democracy. Because it's an election time, we cannot be specific about the states now. But I'd like you to speak to something you touched on earlier on, Mr. Ogwadi, and that is the remarkable difference in political awareness in the North as against the South. Because some would say the South is educationally more advanced in comparison to the North. Why is that difference? Why isn't the enlightenment that is distinct with the South is not accompanied with mass participation in the electoral process? Because if today's election were for a northern state, the cues would be different from what we're seeing.
Yes, that's it. You have already answered yourself. The North is more politically conscious, and the South seriously naive, careless. You see them on election day. I'm sure you know what I'm saying. On election day, like this one is even good. They play sets. Those of us who play football, we will queue instead of voting, we queue to play football. When you are finished with your own, leave the place for us, we'll play. And they are, in fact, I've come to conduct to monitor election. I can't remember, maybe a local government election or the governorship election in this axis. There's an open field there, and there's a voting center by your side here. The young guys were busy playing football, and the old people were busy voting. Yeah, you're in your backyard here.
It goes back to the issue we've raised over and over again, Mr. Ogwadi.
Yes.
About awareness and political education. See, you are aware, post-Brexit, there were regrets by the young people.
Yes.
In fact, some people voted because they wanted to test the system.
Yes.
They voted the other way.
Yes.
Just as you said the other time, against their conscience, not because they were mobilized or anything.
Yes.
Just to check whether their vote will count. Unfortunately, their vote counted.
Unfortunately.
And Brexit came up.
And Brexit came up, and then the number of people now began to, I think young people now began to, say, no, this is not what we want. We didn't want it. But here it is again. There is no reversing it unless you have to have another referendum. So is there a way to, I don't know, it has to be a sustainable thing.
Yes.
Let the people know that there are consequences for every action and inaction.
This question is touching. If anything at all, in fact, my wife will tell me, all this your effort, is it yielding any results? Why don't you just take a rest with this age of yours? Say, okay, but the thing in me, has not given up. And I'm not giving up in Nigeria. I mean, voters' awareness have been in the trenches for more than 20 years. And we've participated in this type of a talk show for God knows how many times. We've observed the election for years. We've written our report to INEC on. I hope this Amukutan will maybe go look at the archives on our reports that we have written after election. Maybe they too will now have a way, because we have proposed it, that the INEC must insist before any political party is given the slot to contest an election, they must have a strong voter education system, department. It's not there. And before that election takes place, that they allow them, they will see that they have gone through and educate and mobilize the people to increase the voter level. But that's not done. I hope Amikpitan will do that. Well, because if there is nothing like that, all these are efforts. Haba, your platform have tried, many other platforms have tried in educating people, but are the politicians who are the beneficiaries of this project, are they involved?
And that's perhaps where the problem is. Should the politicians be the ones that benefit? Isn't it supposed to be the people?
I don't score to against Tayo.
We'll take on more conversations, because there are always all different shades of perspectives to this issue. And as we have said over and over again, our correspondents are in various parts of Anambra State, and the more we have more information, the more we give you the updates. But there is something consistent on the socials, and that is everywhere is quiet. The question is why? Talk about that when we return.
Welcome back. It's still Anambra Decides 2025. We're broadcasting live from our studios, our global headquarters here in Lagos. We also have our correspondents in every part of Anambra. Of course, we have been doing quite well to bring us up to speed with the voting process. We can tell you that voting is underway by nearly 2 hours now or more, and the process, according to reports, has been smooth in many parts of the state. Now we're beginning to get reports about vote buying in some parts of Anambra. We're hoping that that would not be the case, but it's not come through from Ihiala, I believe, where our correspondent Charles Oporum reported from not too long ago. We can see a party agent who's being challenged by his other colleagues from other political parties. Let's get a feel of the soundbite, and then we'll come back to our studio to continue the conversation. Well, my Igbo is not too good, so I will not be able to translate into it. But what we can tell you is that other party agents were challenging this particular party agent for voter inducement. Prior to that time, he had accompanied a woman to the polling unit and asked in Igbo, Egole, which is how much. And when he emerged from, that incident, he was challenged by his other colleagues. So that is what we can report to you at this point in time. And this came through from Ihiala. And, it brings us back to our earlier conversation about the positioning of the ballot box and the thumb printing area, the stand, where you thumbprint on your ballot paper before you drop it into the box. Mr. Gwade, you have observed many elections prior to this time, and we've seen videos, of different polling units and the positioning of the ballot box and the voting area. How satisfactory has that been for you?
Before you comment on that,
there
is a perspective from a voter right on the ground. Let's take that one quickly.
We saw that party mercenaries actually collecting people's cards, giving them the INEC will give them form to vote. And when they vote, they give it back to party mercenaries who will drop it in the ballot box. And they are buying and selling vote, actually negotiating. It's sad. And probably one party agent there who is very angry over the matter. He has been shouting on INEC personnel, why are you allowing this guy? Nobody should touch ballot box or ballot paper of a voter. They should allow the voters to go and vote and drop the ballot paper inside the ballot box.
That's a confirmation.
Yes, I would assume, Mr. Ogwade, that anyway. What you are a lawyer, so tell us what are the consequences and what are the penalties.
For starters, I want just to bring in something hilarious. Buki said that she does not speak or she does not know Igbo language.
But she heard.
But she had Igbo. From where I come from, they will say she does not hear the language, but she knows the snippet of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's inducement, and of course, it's all against electoral law. But again, the problem is that, again, the second leg is that I'll use this opportunity to call on Amikputon to move in as much. I'm sure maybe before he was appointed, he would have asked the president, Tinubu, that I hope you give me all the powers. One of the things I want is that because I'm a lawyer, and that's like well expected by us in the legal community, that the issue of the election tribunal should be set up. Because all these things come on and unpunished. The various things that will happen in Anambra now will happen, and nothing will happen. This election, I guess in 2014 or so, the first election of Peter Obi, if you remember, Obusi was a very hot place. And of course, some INEC officers compromised the process. Till tomorrow, nothing has happened in that regard. So if there is punishment, I guess that may stop this issue. You saw the EFCC people coming up. I hope they will be able to make these people this thing that is happening, they will get some hands on it, they will fish them, then they will prosecute them. So they will now put a light to my statement that they just came to grandstand. I don't think they should allow that to happen. But when it's the issue of grandstanding, people are arrested along the line, either there is a call from above or there are some influences or compromise, then the whole thing goes on, and the next election again, it happens. So, but the issue is that once this thing has been arrested, through the following up with the due process of prosecuting, and those who are involved are made to face the rule of the law squarely, then it will deter those who are involved.
But what are the consequences in law?
The consequences is either 5 years, 7 years, depending. There are some 7 years for election, for vote buying, 5 years for, no, 7 years for vote buying, 5 years for inducement. And of course, those who sell, yes, 7 years for those who are the one who are the vote sellers.
But there are variations to this thing, because I heard Mr. Adiluola say earlier about a 500,000 naira fine.
Yes, there is an option of fine. Again, that's what
12 months,
we don't want to promote. On the wrist. We don't want to promote that the issue of 500,000 naira fine, because that's the person who has come with a ton of money. And of course, they've already put that the idea of fine, that amount, okay, if we are caught, they will pay the fine. We don't want that option of fine.
But what about the sponsor who has made the funds available?
That's where we are going. That again is part of it now, that we want even an improvement on the Electoral Act. And indeed, the National Assembly is working on it. And to me, they are delaying it. Maybe they want it to come up for the national election. We are saying, no, we thought it will come up for this Anambra election. But if it can't come up for Anambra election, it should come up for the upcoming Ekiti election.
One of the option of cancelling that election, where the election of the polls, where that occurrence occurred. What is it that brings that up?
Yeah, well, if they can find out that there is sufficient infraction in it. You know, unfortunately, we're in an election tribunal, I handle election matters too. We call it the compliance level.
At the polling unit level, I apologize, sorry, Bukola. At the polling unit level, whose responsibility is it to validate or invalidate?
Well, the INEC people now, they have their ad hoc staff there. They will know maybe a vote. I mean, you are talking about vote now. Yes, the vote, if it's validated, they will know. But unfortunately, they can't know because this thing is done behind. All they see is that somebody presents his voter's card. They look at it through the machine. They know that is the one. Then definitely they give him a voter's paper.
But the observer you heard now saying,
the
observer was saying that, look, why are the INEC officials allowing this to happen?
No.
In other words, they could identify that this is a party official, not a voter. And the person is coming and going to cast votes for someone.
No, I don't. If that's what has happened, then definitely there's something wrong there. There's the issue of compromise there. And we have seen severally that INEC officers to compromise haven't been induced. It has happened even in the last by-election that took place in Ikperu, some few kilometers from this place. Just last time, last August, I guess 13 or so, election that took place for the by-election for the Federal House. So it is all over. But this one, in fact, the party agent has now, maybe he's the only party agent there. Because I know that if he has some counterparts, obviously those ones will raise dust, and that's what we said the other time. If you are not around, your goat will will born a chicken.
Well, interesting point there, but I'm just wondering. You just supports the point about INEC being overwhelmed.
Yes.
Because if the responsibility is placed on INEC ad hoc staff to conduct the election seamlessly, I imagine that the ad hoc staff that we're seeing on our screen there, have to ensure accreditation. They have to continue with the voting process.
Yes.
And then paying attention to inducement will be another, distraction entirely. That goes to ask about what the security agents are doing when they allow, such to go on. But we've seen in the past, where security agents are also actively, engaging in one level of voter inducement. But you were talking about sufficient inducement to cancel an election. What measure would be sufficient, Mr. Ogwade?
Well, legally now you'll be looking at the compliance level, just as I said. You look at it that the elections, when it was conducted, the compliance level, was it total? Was it those three languages just upset my brain now. Total compliance, partial compliance, and substantial compliance. Those three. Total, partial, and substantial. And we knit everything, we knit everything together, knitting as in knitting a cloth together to look at it that, inducement, is it how many percent of people? If it's the totality of those who came to vote, then definitely that is not that one has fallen off the compliance level. Then you call for a cancellation. Even we as observers will make a record that no, this is the issue that must be done before we go.
So substantial is inadequate to cancel an election.
Yeah, of course. Now substantial. That's the biggest one now. That the compliance
level.
Because
there's total, there's substantial,
and there's partial.
Okay.
So if it's partial, that one is simple. Maybe 2 or 3 people, you cut them, maybe this one and some other, and let that one go. Maybe you remove the votes. You just, those people, you remove it. But if it's like about 300 people now, then you have 250, obviously, that's substantial. That's if it's something.
Okay. Before we leave this matter of vote buying, I asked earlier how satisfied you are with the positioning of ballot boxes and the voting stand, and from your experience, what you've seen in the past in polling units in other elections. How satisfied are you with
That's
what
how it should be. That's how it should be. The INEC officers, the ad hoc people will see who is voting, how they voted, that there is no inducement. That's how it happens. And maybe now, I'm looking at two, maybe we'll look at it that they will now maybe get some other set of people to monitor voting, not monitor election. We go to monitor elections to see what is happening. those that will monitor voting will now peel their eyes to seeing that what is happening.
Interesting. As I always say, I apologize. There are several legs to this election, and I thought we covered it all. We haven't even started. But, you know, let's quickly take Charles Oporum, our correspondent, brought us some updates on this vote buying thing. Charles, I mean, one of the videos that we have put out for people to see is that EFCC officials are at some polling booths around the city. Any such observation in the process? Because this issue of vote buying, I doubt it would have happened if the EFCC officials were there.
Okay, Ayo, I haven't seen any EFCC official yet. Maybe I've seen and they've been undercover. It's possible, and I did not recognize them. But anybody putting on the EFCC vest, I have not seen any such thing. Now, coming to the question of vote buying, the video I sent in earlier from Central School, also, you know, after I had an interview with Madam Dimma Udi of the Situation Room, and she pointed out that, you know, there was transaction ongoing. I decided to go forward and see for myself what was happening.
If AY is trying to exonerate him that he's still a novice, he does not know. At least he has been following the electoral process. He too has been in the process. He knows what has happened. And having taken it up, by now he should have studied the books to say, yes, I want to put a stop to this nonsense. And it starts now, using the Anambra election as a test so that it won't happen in Ekiti. Neither will it happen in Ondo before the next general election. If not, they will continue to go in circles.
Because I didn't know I had the power to exonerate anyone. And now that I know, I think I'll be using it.
Use the power. But you know that you are your man. You are your own.
You know, it's the things that we see in the media, Mr. Ogwade.
Yeah.
I really wish you can say everything. You know, because, I mean, some of my colleagues on the field now, the things they must be experiencing, the tummy-turning situations, things that are unthinkable, unimaginable. I would just wonder, is it that we don't know how to think, or we don't know how to think properly to ensure that the proper things are done for our people? So, again, when I talked about before, you know, Bukola's question came to you, it goes back to systems. It questions whether or not we trust our systems. If we have to expect, or rather, if we have to wait for the top guy to get the job done, it questions everything about whether or not we have an efficient system without some top guy breathing down the necks of people. It is the reason we have national commissioner. At least one national commissioner has been deployed to Anambra. It's the reason we have resident electoral commissioners in each state. It's the reason we have principal officers in INEC. So if we have to wait for Professor Amukbito, then there is something seriously, dangerously wrong with the system.
Impunity is that dangerous thing that is wrong with the system. Audacity, tribalism, religious sentiments, and all these vices, they still stare us in the face. Anyone who wants to take steps is guided by those things. Until you are a true nationalist who says, no, country comes first. If not, there won't be an Egole issue when you want to vote now. I want to vote. Egole, it means money. How much? Then you want to go and vote. And you are talking how much for something that is supposed to be patriotic. So you cannot, at that level, someone is talking Egole because he has gotten information that up there, they have done Egole, if there's a word like that. So he too wants to take his own national chin-chin because somebody has taken his own or her own national cake. But if the top breathes down, no compromise. Just as I said earlier on, I don't know, but of course I've been in some processing where they want the strict principle and the strict protocol to be followed. They'll call all of us that are involved in the thing. We don't want any compromise. If you know you'll be involved in any compromise, you better just leave. Because if we get to know, you can be sure that we'll not spare you. Then those who are Judas will do what? We'll back out. Then we'll have a good election. we'll have a good thing. It's the same thing. I'm sure your people who went to Anambra, because we do it, don't compromise, don't go anywhere. If you hear that they are spending, they are sharing money, they call civil societies to come and get money, don't go there. If you go there, they get you, you are off, and will even prosecute you ourselves. So when such things are done, then fear will come into the mind of those who want to compromise. Well, and things will be done right. Perhaps, and it comes from the head.
And you know, it speaks to consequence management. And Ayo's question is quite instructive. Besides the fact that, you know, there's so many levels of delegation that we shouldn't even be calling the INEC chairman right now. We should be asking questions of national commissioners, resident electoral commissioners, registration area centers. What about the you know, the system of consequence management for bad behavior? Is it, you know, entrenched in the INEC system itself? And questions have been asked in the past about the number of INEC officials that have been, you know, punished for bad behavior in certain elections. That's another kettle of fish entirely that you might speak to later on. But we're talking about how this is the litmus test for the new INEC chairman. And besides, you know, voter inducement, what about what you have seen so far and, you know, the outcomes of our engagements with the civil society organizations on ground in terms of logistics, in terms of deployment of materials, functionality of the beavers? What can you say about INEC's performance so far?
Fine, and that's where I'm going. Thank God for, thank you, God bless you for this question. God bless you.
Amen.
I'm a pastor, so
Amen.
I'm praying for you.
Amen.
Don't look at me as an aluta man. I'm a pastor. So, look at it now. I want to believe what I've said initially, and Peter has done that. I mean, Peter has done that. That look, get the things done very well. I don't want to hear ke. Just as I said earlier on again, no keke must ke. So far, there is no keke that is carrying. I expect this. We want to believe that they are not substantial to vitiate the election. So if they are not substantial to vitiate the election, then we go on. We'll say we've had a good election. But if they continues, I hope that your guy that spoke as a correspondent, it won't happen in that place. Then it will be okay. But when you begin to hear it in all the 21 local governments, in 50% of electoral processes, then you know there's trouble. So what did you say? You use the technical language now, your question.
The consequence for
consequence violation. Then anybody who is gotten, you pick the person, you deal with him. Fortunately, the man is a lawyer. Then, don't forget, I've said it and I've continued to say, the buck stops at its table. Somebody should not wreck the election. It is his name that they will be calling. Nobody will call the name of wreck. It is a man that will be calling. So my name is at stake. My reputation is at stake. I have a name to protect. So anyone who commits any malfeasance is picked up and dealt with immediately. That will show that indeed, this man is serious. But if it comes a slap in the wrist, then definitely the impunity, the audacity, inanities will continue. To stop it is for him to put his feet down. So from the top, of course, he will be monitoring. I'm sure he's watching this program. I am sure. Because he will need some independent views like this, because he saw some of his officers will be doing, Oga, everything they all right, sir. Don't worry, we are on ground here. We are managing the situation. We will now be telling them, they are discussing your matter on air. Look at, go and quickly go to a station. Maybe by now, maybe they will have a small television in a van. I have a van that I go around with. We monitor all these things all over. Go and monitor it in the van and tell me, look at what are you telling me? You better wake up. Then they will now know what to do. Because even if anything at all, this news about the INEC ad hoc staff challenging your people for them to do the right thing is even an infraction.
Okay. Now, there is a video. And you said something the other time from Bukola's question. Consequence management. Now, there is a video that has faces of people who, if we take it through the law and the process, they will be indicted, and the consequences of the law are going to play. From all that we have discussed so far, who should be taking the gauntlet? Who should pick up that video and say, let's challenge this one.
Unfortunately, it is the police and the Office of the Attorney General that can prosecute. And that's why we are advocating, and that's why you two join your voice with us, that we should have an election tribunal commission. Then that commission will be the one, because this one is an exclusive project. In law, we call it sui generis. This is an exclusive project. The police may not even be able to handle this in terms of prosecution, because election matters are seriously technical matters. And maybe that's why there have not been any leeway before, apart from election tribunal. Promoting criminal activities like this now have not gone any way too far, because when it comes to prosecution, it is the police that prosecutes at the magistrate court. And at that level, the other party gets a senior advocate of Nigeria who will deal with the police prosecutor. The man cannot quote law. So the matter will be frustrated. Or at worst, the man will be dealt with legally. That's the prosecutor. But if it's a tribunal thing now, there's a commission and the prosecutor is a lawyer. And of course, INEC will be able to get a son. Don't forget these people. They can't hire a poor lawyer, a small boy lawyer. They will hire a son to come and face the prosecutor, and they will deal with the prosecutor, and they will go scot-free with Blue Mother. The way to go about is when the law is triggered appropriately in this country. It's in Nigeria that people play big man.
But the question remains, because the Office of the Attorney General is not on ground in Anambra State. So,
thank God, you are just agreeing with me.
It's just questions. Not just a second, it's just questions. Who will prosecute this issue is the question that I'm asking. The Office of the Attorney General is not in Anambra State right this moment. Now, if anyone is going to report it, okay, well, maybe security, civil society organizations are going to put in their report and maybe submit it to INEC or someone. So who is going to say, we need to prosecute this to serve as a deterrent?
That's what I said now, that the problem, there is a lacuna there. That's the problem. The general thing that has been happening is the police. After all these people that they catch, or they arrest, or they get, they will hand them over to the police. And the police will now prosecute. And the police can only prosecute in the magistrate court.
So is the solution to that now, as it has been, made over the decades through conduct of elections in our democracy, the establishment of an electoral offences commission?
That's all. That's the solution, because with that now, it will be the legal teeth will be able to go deep. This one will be like an assertion, not a bingo that is by the sword, that is because you are passing. I'm sure you know what I mean. The local dog, you even just throw your leg before you get near, it will run away. But as an assertion, you throw your leg at the risk, the assertion will run after your leg, grab it and give it a good bite. That is what we want. We want the law to be like an assertion dog.
But isn't that a proliferation of agencies?
No,
just as
this
we've
one
talked about
specific.
How there is anti-fraud unit in the police, and we're also having economic and financial crimes commission.
This one is different. Anti-fraud, that is fraud. That is the work of the police.
I'm just trying to draw parallels.
No, madam. No. This one is different. This is a special issue. Election matters need specialty. People who are involved to know about it and carry it out. Anti-fraud, that's the work of the police. The EFCC now, they'll turn it around, it is fraud. And they'll carry it in the route of fraud. And they'll take it to the, even if they go to the high court, with this, even if it's an EFCC matter. I've handled one. The EFCC was involved in the election matter, but the other side, the guy rented his son. And they dealt with them.
But because voter inducement is criminal.
That's what I'm saying.
And it is provided, the punitive sanctions is provided for under the law. And the police is mandated to prosecute such offenses, right?
500,000 naira fine. All this noise, 500,000 naira fine. It's not even enough to rent. It's not insignificant in getting his son. So they are ready to pay that. And that's why they will encourage their boys to be, they will lose them on us. It's not the politician that was taking the money that we saw in the video. It's the agent. A small boy. And you can be sure that they will be arranging his bail now or his release now. The big boy will not be involved. So the deterrent and consequence that we talked about is for the law to become a shepherd guard or an accession dog that will be able to bite, not a bingo or lucky or what all these names that they call these local dogs. No, we need a dog that can bite. So make the law to be strong. Then maybe that will encourage people to now come. It's the second leg of all these issues that you've been asking me. If they know that, yeah, those who make politics dirty are cleaned out, then definitely, or they are put away, then definitely people will be involved both in voting and being involved as candidates. You heard Ayo said that he cannot even come out as a candidate so that he's not whitewashed with debt. It's a pig business. The pig, you can never watch the pig clean. The pig will always go.
But there's also an interesting angle to that. Looking at the electioneering as a pig business is one way to look at it.
Yes.
Another way to look at it is a kitchen.
Yes.
With dirty plates.
Yes.
There is no clean plate if there is no one to wash it.
Yes.
So if we have complaints, we get into the kitchen.
Yes.
Get our hands dirty. Then clean the plates and clean our hands.
Yes.
But that takes a process.
Yes.
Some people, some of us have to be willing and ready to make that sacrifice. You said something very, very important the other time. How many medical doctors have come out? How many
engineers,
how many lawyers
who are not on
senior advocates of Nigeria have come out to vote that people have seen? How many engineers, how many top-level professionals have we seen come out to say we want to vote?
And stand
These
in the
are
queue.
things that should be giving such elections credibility. I imagine, just for want of a better word, if Funshaw Williams, when he was alive, so that I don't use someone's name and then
they will come and sue you.
Let Funshaw Williams, let's say he is not a professional, he just comes out, he says he wants to vote. He already has credibility. It is only natural that people will follow him. So if this man can consider this election that is important, I will consider it important as well to go and vote. But we don't seem to be seeing that.
You will see that based on the foundation that I've laid about the various inanities and the challenges. Why will I want to waste my time? Some of us, I told you, people have been harassing me. Why are you are just wasting your time? But isn't it in us that we continue harassing us? So there's no, it will change when some of the things that are put in place, maybe with what some other people will add to ensuring that indeed we clean the space. All of us are in the kitchen now. Our hands are dirty. We must wash our hands before we even wash the plates.
Who comes to equity must come with clean hands.
Bless you, my lawyer.
Again, amen. You know, at the start of the program, we were reflecting on some very critical component of the elections, and which is the deployment of resources. I raised that point, and he talked about, you know, how important it is for people to come out, because if you you know, deploying 2.8 million or 2.7 million registered voters to this election, that means that INEC would have printed 2.7 million ballot papers. But we haven't seen more than 10 you know, voters on each line in a particular polling unit. In each polling unit that we have, you know, monitored so far in this election. I'll come back and conclude my point on this question. I understand that we now have our correspondent, Joy Odinye, who is standing by to bring us updates on from where she is. She'll tell us where she is. Hello, Joy. Please tell us where you are and bring us updates from there. Joy, good morning. Tell us where you are and bring us updates.
Yeah, good morning, dear. Presently, All
right, we'll return to Joy as soon as we sort out connection through to her. But okay, I hear you again, Joy. Let's try this again. Joy, go ahead if you can hear me.
Yeah, I am presently at Isofia, Ofui Square, polling unit 002, where the governor will be casting his votes.
Go ahead. Tell us what you've seen so far.
Okay. Sorry, enthusiasm of the people to really cast their votes. All right. If you see.
All right. We'll get back to you, Joy, as soon as we sort out the connection. But let's go to another part of Anambra, where I believe a representative of the European Union is addressing the press.
At the moment now, we have not witnessed any devices. Neither will we say that there are electoral delay so far. As a matter of fact, what we have seen, we're so encouraged about it so far because the people are coming out to be accredited. The election is ongoing. Looking at the voters' range, we have seen the youth, we have seen the elderly, we have seen the people with disability, we have seen the old people, coming out to cast their vote. So far, we've not seen any biases that will justify any record to say that the otherwise is taking place. For we, as international observers, the election is ongoing.
Have we heard of any flashpoint from any local area?
For now, we have not received any call either, but we have not seen, because we definitely need to report from what we have seen. We have not received any flashpoints from any quarter so far. We have not. And as I've said, accreditation is still ongoing. This is just 11:25. Let's wait from 91 o'clock and see what will be the outcome.
So what's your impression about the umpire, INEC itself?
INEC have lived up to the expectations. BVAS is working according to the expectation of the electorate. Apart from one BVAS, we saw somewhere that just complained. And according to the young lady there, she said INEC immediately responded, and then they have to take immediate step by replacing the BVAS machine, and accreditation continues. With that alone, they're giving us a very good impression.
Thank you very much. You want to add something to it?
Okay. I'm just observing.
You're just observing.
After the election, I will come with my comments.
Okay. After election, we'll not make a statement. But we'll get to have your details so that we'll be having a press conference.
Yeah, we're going that.
There we have to be at not in the INEC Center. We're having our press conference somewhere inside the city, one of the major hotels here. That will get to invite the Nigerian Union of Journalists, the print media, and the media houses, where we'll now have a comprehensive presentation of our observation. For now, accreditation is still, and we cannot just summarize on the affirmative, neither on the negative. But with our presentation, it has to be on the average, because we're still going from one polling unit.
Thank you very much.
Or representatives of the European Union Election Observation Mission there speaking to Channels Television in Anambra State. And from what we hear, they've given a neutral submission of what they've seen so far in the election. We'll be hearing a more comprehensive report of the European Union Election Observation Mission later on. Let's return to our correspondent now, Joy Odinye, who was reporting from Isofia earlier on. Joy, go ahead. I hope it's better. Hearing you will be better this time around. Give us updates from Isofia.
All right. Thank you very much. Isofia is very calm, this time around. I am at polling unit 002 of Ofui Square, where the governor is expected to vote any moment from now. Here in this very polling unit, we have a lot of people. It's really crowded here. Men, women, elderly ones are here to cast their vote. So many media representatives are here, so many groups, observer groups. Security is top-notch here, and people are quite hopeful that this election will continue to be peaceful until the very end. So everything is peaceful, everywhere is calm, everything is going smoothly. They've not encountered any glitch at all. People are voting peacefully, and everything is going on well here. And they have 933 registered voters here, even though what we have on ground is not up to that, but we still expect that people will still come to this place and cast their vote. And in other surrounding areas, to this Sofia, voting has been going on well. We've not heard any incidents of any violence or, problem at all. In fact, every area is very calm. Yes.
Interesting, Joy, that's the report. Very interesting and heartwarming as well. But there's this twist we're getting from certain parts of Anambra State of vote buying. Charles Operum, our colleague, gave that report earlier. Have you smelt anything like that near you?
No, I have not encountered anything of that sort. But there was a report from one of the election observers, Faith Wadisu, precisely, when I encountered her at Unity, a polling unit there at Unity, in fact, Daraba Square. She raised an important issue. She said she saw some people wearing uniforms that are not police uniforms, but they are parading themselves as security operatives. But he could not decipher who they were and what they were actually up to. So I've prodded further to find out who sent them, the particular place where she encountered them, but she couldn't, clearly specify. But she was very sure of what she saw, that those people, because before now, the Commissioner of Police for this election made it clear. Even the DRG in charge of operations for this election stated clearly that no security outfit except the federal forces should be seen within the voting areas. So for now, vigilante groups are going to these security officers should not be seen under the polling unit. So with how raising this concern, I find it disturbing. And I said I will take in one or two to find out if these men were also in other places. But as of here that I am, I have not seen any person that's wearing uniform that is not police, TSS, or federal forces. So that's a concern she raised, and I think it should be taken seriously. Here is peaceful. I have not encountered vote buying or anything of that sort.
Joy, we have more questions for you, but we're going to have to anchor at this point and hope that the network will be better when we reconnect with you again. But as Aya would always say, we encourage you, for the benefit of all of us, to please stay safe. Our correspondent there, Joy Odinye, reporting from Isofia, where, according to her, everything is peaceful and one of the candidates is expected to cast his ballot. And so we're still covering this, and we're about to follow up with more questions with you, Mr. Wale Ogunade, but we must let you go at this point. And thank you very much for your time on the program. Mr. Wale Ogunade is the President Voters Awareness Initiative. He's also a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming through on this one.
To God be the glory.
Yeah.